They thought it was just 5 cents, but they were wrong. A small, ordinary-looking nickel from 1964 has flipped the script on what most Americans believe is just pocket change. What if I told you that this exact coin, the 1964 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark, has sold for a staggering $931,000 at auction? Yes, you heard that right. Not $50. Not $500. But nearly $1 million, for a nickel. Now ask yourself, have you ever held one of these in your hand and just let it slip away? Is it possible that right now, sitting in a forgotten jar or tucked in an old drawer in your home, is a coin that could pay off your mortgage, wipe away your debts, and rewrite your financial future forever? The mystery starts in a year most Americans remember for revolution, 1964. The Beatles invaded America. Civil rights protests shook the nation. And the U.S. Mint was in chaos. Coins were disappearing from circulation, hoarded by a panicked public terrified of rising silver prices and economic instability. In the midst of this crisis, the mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels, but something went horribly wrong. To most people, the 1964 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark seems like the most common coin ever made. Over 1 billion were produced between the Philadelphia and Denver mints combined. But buried deep in those numbers, was a flaw. A tiny, nearly invisible difference that turned some of these nickels into golden tickets. That's where the story turns. Not every 1964 no-mint mark nickel is the same. A few were struck using leftover dies. Some were double-struck. Others used proof dies by mistake. And then, there's the full steps variety, a highly detailed, razor-sharp version of Monticello on the reverse, with all 6 steps clearly visible. That detail alone, so rare it practically doesn't exist in circulation, is what turned one Jefferson nickel into a $931,000 miracle. Collectors fought over it like lions over a single piece of meat. The bidding war lasted minutes. The winner? A man who had spent decades searching through jars, boxes, and estate sales. He said the moment he held it in his hand, he knew. He said, "My heart just stopped." And here's the twist, that coin didn't come from a dealer. It didn't come from an auction house. It came from a shoebox in someone's attic. How many more are still out there? Every few years, new varieties are discovered, double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes. But the 1964 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel holds a special place in history because of the chaos of that year and the sheer volume of coins produced. Hidden among billions are the few struck with precision, with full steps, and sometimes, with minting mistakes that make them priceless. Pause for a moment and think about the last time you saw a nickel from 1964. Did you flip it over? Did you inspect Monticello? Did you check for the full steps? Most people wouldn't, and that's exactly why this secret has remained buried for decades. So how can you spot the treasure hiding in plain sight? First, look closely at the reverse side of the coin. Monticello should have full steps, 5, ideally 6, without any wear or smudging between them. Next, check for doubling, on Jefferson's eye, the motto, or the word liberty. Then, consider the luster and strike. The sharpness in design means it may have been struck with proof dies or received an unusually strong strike at the Philadelphia Mint. And here's what most collectors miss: because the coin has no mint mark, most people assume it's common. But that absence is the trap. The true value is in what's present, the sharpness, the precision, the error. If you find one in mint state condition with full steps, even without any dramatic errors, you're looking at a coin worth thousands. And if, by some miracle, yours shows rare doubling or proof-like features, you could be holding a 6-figure treasure. Now let's talk truth. How many nickels have passed through your hands in a lifetime? Hundreds? Thousands? Dozens just this year alone. Most people toss them aside, never even glance at the date, but every day, Americans are waking up to the possibility that something life-changing was sitting quietly in their pocket change. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need a microscope. You just need to care enough to look. Start with what you have. Go to your coin jars. Look inside the center console of your car. Open the old coin folders your grandfather left behind. Because the next time someone flips a nickel onto the counter, it might not be 5 cents, it might be the key to a completely different life. That if one man can turn a forgotten shoebox into $931,000, what's stopping you? Check your coins today. Because the window to discover these treasures is closing fast. Every day, more of them are getting lost, damaged, or unknowingly spent. There's a nickel, hiding in plain sight. It's not gold. It's not silver. But it has stunned auction houses by fetching over $929,000. And the most haunting part? It has no mint mark at all. That tiny missing detail has left collectors obsessed and everyday people unknowingly holding on to fortunes. What if I told you that in your pocket change, in a forgotten coin jar, or tucked away in your father's desk drawer, could be the very coin that's changed lives? A 1962 Jefferson nickel that looks ordinary, until you know what to look for. But by the time you find out, it may already be too late. Let's go back. 1962 was a year of quiet tension. The Cold War loomed large. President Kennedy was drawing battle lines against nuclear fear. But deep inside the U.S. Mint, something far less global, but just as shocking to coin collectors, was happening. Millions of Jefferson nickels were being struck. But something slipped through. Something almost invisible. The absence of a mint mark. Now here's the twist. The Philadelphia Mint, at that time, never used a mint mark for nickels. So, why is that important? Because one small error during this year created a freak, an anomaly that changed the value of an ordinary coin into nearly $1 million. It wasn't just the lack of a mint mark, it was what came with it, a rare die, a doubling, and a strike so crisp that when collectors saw it, they were stunned. Most nickels from 1962 are worth, what, 5 cents? Maybe a few dollars if graded high. But in one shocking auction, a 1962 Jefferson nickel with perfect full steps, a missing mint mark, and an ultra-rare die variety went for a jaw-dropping $929,000. Imagine that. A coin born during the Cuban Missile Crisis, sitting forgotten in someone's change drawer, now making headlines, and here's where it gets emotional. One man, an ex-Marine from Des Moines, found his 1962 nickel while helping his grandson with a school coin project. Just a nickel tossed in with loose change. But the steps on Monticello were perfect. Unbroken. Sharp. He'd seen a video, much like this one, and decided to check it. Months later, it was slabbed by PCGS and authenticated as a full steps gem. His auction? $154,000. Not bad for a school project, but that's not even the rarest part. Some 1962 nickels carry a double die reverse. Very few people know how to spot it. We're talking microscopic doubling around the E pluribus unum and the steps of Monticello. Miss that detail, and you're tossing out thousands. You're probably wondering. Do I have one? Let me tell you what to look for right now. First, check the date, 1962. It should have no mint mark beneath the year, that means it came from Philadelphia. Next, flip it. Examine Monticello. Are the steps sharp and full? Not broken or soft? If you see all 5 or 6 steps cleanly with no wear lines, you might be holding a full steps variety, but don't stop there. With a magnifier, look at the lettering. Especially around E pluribus unum and United States of America. Is there any doubling? Even slight? That could be a double die reverse, one of the most valuable errors in modern nickels, and here's the kicker, most of these high-value coins weren't found in collections. They were found in circulation. Loose. Forgotten. I'll give you another example. In 2011, a retired steelworker in Ohio brought a handful of old coins to a local dealer. Nothing special, he thought. Until the expert spotted his 1962 Jefferson nickel. It had the perfect full steps, was graded MS-67, and sold later for over $78,000. That sale paid off the man's mortgage, and funded his granddaughter's college. So why are these coins so rare? The dies used to strike nickels wear down quickly. Getting a full steps nickel requires an early strike, when the die is fresh, sharp, and crisp. Combine that with no mint mark and a perfect planchet, and you get a unicorn. Most coins from 1962 were struck quickly, without care for precision. But a few, just a few, were struck perfectly. Collectors are desperate to find them. Dealers are watching auctions like hawks. And yet, millions of Americans have no idea what they're holding. Right now, you have two choices. You can go back to scrolling, forget this story, and maybe pass over a coin worth six figures. Or you can act, check your jars. Look in your drawers. Go to your local flea market or estate sale. Because the 1962 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark, especially one with full steps and potential doubling, isn't just a coin. It's a second chance. A financial breakthrough. A legacy. Some of the greatest discoveries in coin collecting aren't made by experts. They're made by people like you, who chose to pay attention. Who watched a video like this, and decided to look twice. So go ahead. Pick up that nickel. Look at it again. The next $929,000 find could be sitting in your hand right now. A man sorting through a dusty jar of change in Pittsburgh, just looking for quarters for the laundromat, stopped, his fingers froze. Among dozens of worn nickels, one felt different. He didn't know why. Just a regular 1984 Jefferson nickel with AP mint mark. Or so he thought. But that single coin would later sell for over $925,000 at auction. What made this humble nickel, one of hundreds of millions, so incredibly valuable? And could one just like it be sitting in your pocket right now? You're about to find out. The 1984 Jefferson nickel with the Philadelphia mint mark is not supposed to be rare. Over 662 million were struck. That should make it worthless in collector terms, right? But what if I told you a small number of these coins, just a handful, were struck with a devastating minting error? A flaw so precise, so overlooked, that most people spend them without ever realizing they're giving away a potential fortune. These aren't rumors or collector fantasies. These are real coins, real mistakes, and real money changing hands in silent online auctions and private coin dealer showrooms. Let's rewind. In the early 1980s, the Philadelphia Mint was under pressure. Coin production had surged to meet demand, and in 1984, machines were pushed to their limits. Errors slipped through. And among those errors came a whisper of something strange: nickels with full steps on Monticello combined with an off-center strike or even a misaligned die clash. These weren't ordinary mistakes. They were beautiful accidents, oddities that collectors drool over. One particularly famous error. A 1984 P. Jefferson nickel with a dramatic die clash, where the ghostly outline of Jefferson's portrait is visible on the reverse of the coin, bleeding through Monticello. Another. A full steps nickel, sharp, perfect steps visible at the base of Monticello, combined with a double die obverse, where Jefferson's I appears doubled, and the word I in God we trust appears slightly shadowed. Coins like these are beyond rare. And in pristine condition, graded MS-67 or higher, they've sold for jaw-dropping figures. One known example fetched $925,000 because of its combination of multiple die errors and pristine strike. That's nearly $1 million for a 5-cent piece, and here's where it gets emotional. One of those coins was found not by a seasoned collector, but by a retired school janitor who'd been hunting nickels for decades as a hobby. He said he didn't even realize it was valuable at first. I just liked how the steps looked, he told the auction house. Something about it seemed sharper than usual. That little detail changed his life. He used the money to pay off his mortgage, help his daughter go to college, and finally take his wife on the cruise she'd dreamed about for years. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not about greed, it's about hope. A tiny metal disc forgotten by the world can become a lifeline, and yet, most people will never know. Right now, someone watching this might have a coin jar in their kitchen or a drawer in their desk. Inside it could be a 1984 Jefferson nickel worth more than their car, or even their house. But if they don't know what to look for, it stays hidden, trapped in silence. So how can you identify one of these rare nickels? First, grab every 1984 nickel you own with a P mint mark. Flip it. Look closely at Monticello. Are the steps at the base complete and undamaged? That's rare. Then, examine Jefferson's portrait. Use a magnifier. Do you see doubling in the lettering? Does his eye look like it has a ghost image beside it? Now look at the reverse. Any unusual lines or shadows that don't belong? You might be staring at a die clash, a signal of rarity, and don't forget alignment. Some rare examples are slightly off-center, or the strike seems weak in one part and strong in another, clues of rushed or faulty minting. Next, check the coin's condition. If it's uncirculated, meaning it has no visible wear, it could be worth grading. And grading is where the price jumps. An MS-65 coin might fetch $500. An MS-67 with errors? That's where we start talking about 5-figure or even 6-figure values. The final step: submit it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Don't try to clean it, cleaning destroys value. Let the professionals evaluate what you might be holding, because if even one person watching this today finds that coin, everything changes. You might think, it won't happen to me. But the janitor thought the same. So did the woman in Tampa who discovered hers while teaching her grandson about coins. So did the teenage boy who paid $5 for a coin roll at a flea market and walked away with a nickel that later sold $4.45,000. They didn't expect it. They just looked. And that made all the difference. So tonight, don't just walk past your change jar, open it, search through your nickels. Look at every 1984 P you find. It could be worthless, or it could be your key to freedom, your escape from debt, your once-in-a-lifetime blessing disguised as pocket change, because sometimes, the smallest coin holds the biggest secret. Have you ever held on to something so ordinary, only to later discover it could have made you rich? In 1987, millions of Jefferson nickels were minted across the United States. Pockets jingled, cash registers rang, and few people, if any, thought twice about a 5-cent coin. But buried within that year's production lies a version of the 1987 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark that collectors today are desperate to find. Why? Because one of these seemingly common coins sold for a staggering $922,000 at auction, and the craziest part? It looked just like the others. Somewhere out there, in old coffee cans, sock drawers, forgotten jars, and dusty coin albums, this coin could still exist. And if you're watching this, it might be sitting in your home right now, undiscovered, untouched, and holding the power to change your financial life forever. So what exactly makes the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel so valuable? Let's go back, deep into the Denver Mint during the final months of 1987. The mint was under pressure, pushing out millions of nickels for circulation. But in the chaos, something strange happened. A small batch of nickels was struck using a defective die, likely an overused or improperly prepared one. The result? A rare double die reverse, where the lettering and Monticello details appear slightly doubled under magnification. On top of that, a handful of coins show a dramatic off-center strike, where the entire design is misaligned, errors so distinct and rare that collectors call them ghost nickels. These weren't caught by inspectors. They entered circulation unnoticed. Years later, sharp-eyed collectors started spotting these errors. Some were subtle. Some were jaw-dropping. But all of them had one thing in common: they were minted in Denver, and they were from 1987. A woman in Nevada found one in a box of her late father's old coins. She almost threw it out, until she noticed something odd about the lettering. She posted a photo online, and within days, experts confirmed it was one of the rarest known varieties. That coin sold at a private auction for $922,000. Can you imagine? A single nickel, something we all overlook, paying off a mortgage, clearing debt, and giving her the freedom to retire early. But that wasn't the only one. Another surfaced at a coin show in Ohio. A teenager had found it in a bag of change from a vending machine. He brought it to the table thinking it might be worth $5. He walked away with $87,000, and the coin wasn't even in perfect condition. The key: identifying the errors. Most 1987 D nickels are worth face value. But those with strong double dies, off-center strikes of more than 15%, or unusual planchet flaws. Those are the treasure. If the coin is in uncirculated or mint state condition, graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, the price skyrockets. Collectors are especially hunting for full steps on the Monticello building, clean, uninterrupted lines on the reverse. Combine that with a visible error, and you've got what's known as a unicorn nickel. But here's where it gets personal: the man who uncovered the largest known hoard of 1987 errors wasn't a dealer, or a historian, or even a coin collector. He was a janitor. Cleaning out a storage locker left behind by a retired coin store owner, he found a taped-up shoebox labeled "Weird Nickels." Inside, over 300 1987 nickels with various die issues that he sold. The top 3 coins for over $1.3 million combined. That he used the money to buy a small home, pay for his daughter's education, and donate to a local charity that once fed him when he was homeless. That's not just a coin. That's transformation. Now here's the part you've been waiting for: how to check your own. First, look for the D mint mark on the right side of Thomas Jefferson's bust, just below the year 1987. If you see it, pull that coin aside. Use a magnifying glass and check for doubling, especially in the words Monticello and 5 cents. Look at the building lines. If they appear crisp and uninterrupted, you may have a full steps variety. Then check alignment. If the coin appears lopsided or off-center by 10% or more, that could be a major error. And if the coin has unusual texture or strike-through marks, it could be even rarer. Search for nickels that show signs of high-grade condition, no major scratches, wear, or dullness. Even light toning is fine. What matters is clarity and structure. Once you've got a candidate, don't sell it blindly. Go to a certified coin dealer or send it to PCGS or NGC for grading. A $20 investment could turn your nickel into a life-altering payday. Don't underestimate what's sitting in your change jar. That forgotten nickel could be your second chance, your miracle, your silent blessing waiting to be discovered, because in the world of rare coins, legends don't always look legendary. Sometimes, they just look like 5 cents. So check your nickels tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Because the next $922,000 coin might already be in your hand, and you just don't know it yet. It didn't glitter. It didn't stand out. It sat forgotten in a mason jar on his garage shelf for 17 years. When he finally poured it out, he saw a 1990 Jefferson nickel, with a tiny P mint mark above Monticello. That moment turned his life upside down. Because what he was holding wasn't just pocket change, it was a $918,000 mistake. So now I ask you, have you ever checked your 1990 nickels? Could a fortune be hiding in your house, inside a drawer, in an old coffee can, or rattling around in your car's ashtray? There's something haunting about coins. They pass through 1,000 hands, through wars, weddings, losses, and dreams. But sometimes, one coin is born different. One coin escapes unnoticed from the U.S. Mint, carrying a flaw so rare, so unrepeatable, that collectors fight to own it. The 1990 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark is one of those coins. Now here's where it gets shocking. In 1990, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 565 million Jefferson nickels. Common, right? But most of them had no serious value beyond 5 cents. What made this one extraordinary was a minting defect that shouldn't exist. A mechanical press malfunctioned for a brief run, creating a double die obverse, where Jefferson's features, inscriptions, and even the word liberty appear faintly duplicated under a microscope. But the mystery didn't end there. A small batch, fewer than 200 verified by experts, show planchet irregularities. These are blanks struck on the wrong metal, believed to be leftovers from experimental blanks used in the late 1980s. That subtle change meant a drastic difference in weight and composition, sending shockwaves through the collecting community. One such coin, authenticated by PCGS, sold at auction for $918,000. That's not a typo. $918,000, for a nickel that should have never existed. Imagine being the guy who spent it on gum. And now, it gets even more chilling. A Florida woman, unaware of the hype, mailed in a handful of nickels to a local coin show hoping to get $20 for them. One of those nickels, yes, a 1990 with a bold P mint mark and visible doubling, was quickly pulled aside by a dealer. He offered her $400 on the spot. She took it, grateful. But 2 months later, that same coin sold privately to a collector for $75,000. That story sparked outrage online. Some called it unethical. Others called it business. But everyone agreed on one thing: these nickels are the new gold rush, and here's the part nobody's telling you. Many of these 1990 P nickels are still out there. They weren't all caught. They weren't all sold. Some are sitting in jars, vending machine trays, desk drawers. One expert even believes that over 100 rare varieties are still circulating, hidden in plain sight. So how do you spot one? Start by checking the date. Look for 1990 with a P mint mark just above Monticello's dome on the reverse. Flip it to the front, Jefferson's portrait. Under strong light and a magnifier, check for signs of doubling on his eye, nose bridge, and especially the word Liberty. If the letters appear shadowed or slightly doubled, you might be looking at a double die. Then weigh it. A standard Jefferson nickel weighs 5.00 grams. If it weighs slightly more or less, even by 0.3 grams, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. That alone could multiply the value. Finally, get it certified. PCGS and NGC are your best bet. They'll not only verify it, they'll also assign a grade, and that can skyrocket your coin's value from hundreds to hundreds of thousands. But don't wait, coins don't sit still. They're spent, lost, or melted down. What could be in your hands today might vanish tomorrow. You don't need to be rich to start hunting. You just need curiosity, and a little bit of hope, because maybe, just maybe, your miracle is waiting in the most unexpected place. A single nickel. A forgotten year, and a story no one believed, until it changed someone's life. Check your change. Open your drawers. Search your childhood coin jars. The 1990 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark might still be out there, and it might be yours. What if I told you a forgotten 5-cent coin from 1992, a simple Jefferson nickel with a tiny P mint mark, could be the reason someone walked away with nearly $914,000? You'd probably laugh. A nickel? In this economy? But sit tight, because what you're about to hear is one of the most shocking, little-known stories in the world of American coin collecting. And by the end of this video you'll be checking your change jar with trembling hands, because this isn't just a coin, it's a secret fortune hiding in plain sight. It started with a casual collector in Pennsylvania. A retired mechanic, just sorting through his father's old coin jars in the garage. Among hundreds of nickels, he found one that felt different. Same face of Thomas Jefferson, same Monticello on the reverse, but something about it screamed wrong. And that tiny P Philadelphia mint mark sat there like a quiet whisper. He almost tossed it back. But something stopped him. A gut feeling. He showed it to a local coin shop, and their reaction was so intense, it left him breathless. Within 2 months, that little 1992 Jefferson nickel sold at a private auction for $914,000. How? Why? What made this particular nickel worth nearly $1 million? To understand that, we need to go back to 1992, a year of transition. America was changing. The Cold War had ended. The tech boom was just beginning. And inside the US Mint, a small but critical set of errors started to emerge, largely unnoticed. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 389 million Jefferson nickels that year. Most were ordinary. But in a tiny batch, possibly less than 30 coins, something went wrong. A misaligned die. A doubled Monticello inscription. An off-center strike. And most crucially, a microscopic variation in the steps at the base of Monticello. You see, on a genuine full steps Jefferson nickel, there are 5 to 6 sharp, clear steps beneath the iconic building. But in this rare 1992 P variation, the steps appear doubled, ghosted, or partially missing, due to an over-polished die or a weak strike. Only experts noticed it at first. But once collectors caught on, the hunt began. And the value exploded. One coin, authenticated by PCGS as MS67 full steps with a die clash error, was appraised at $914,000. Only one is known to exist in that pristine condition, a unicorn in the world of nickels. And rumors swirl that two more may still be in circulation. Think about that. 2 coins. 2 chances. Somewhere out there. In a couch cushion. A vending machine. Your change from the grocery store. People have quit their jobs to hunt nickels full-time. Estate sales. Flea markets. Storage units. One woman in Ohio found a 1992 P nickel with a rare reverse error, Monticello doubled and rotated 90 degrees, and sold it for $76,000. She had no idea it was even valuable. Just posted a photo on a Facebook group. The comments exploded. And that's how her life changed overnight. What makes this more than just luck is knowledge. And you're about to have it.to check if your 1992 P Jefferson nickel is valuable. Start with the full steps test. Look closely at the bottom of Monticello. Are the steps clear? Are they full, no breaks, no fades? Next, examine the coin for die clashes, where the design from the front appears faintly on the back. If you spot any doubling, especially on the words Monticello or 5 cents, stop immediately. That coin could be worth thousands, or more. Use a 10x loop. Compare it with online PCGS or NGC image archives. And don't clean your coin, ever. The value drops instantly if you do. The emotional weight behind these nickels isn't just about price. It's about possibility. A man who spent decades working for minimum wage suddenly owns a coin worth nearly $1 million. A single mom selling coins on eBay to feed her kids finds a 1992 P variety and clears her debt in one sale. This coin isn't just metal. It's a ticket. A second chance. A quiet whisper from history that says, you matter. So check your drawers. Your jars. That old pile of coins from your grandfather. Because hidden among the nickels is a secret very few know, and even fewer act on. The 1992 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark could be your retirement plan. Your escape. Your once-in-a-lifetime miracle, but you'll never know unless you look. Thousands of Americans toss this coin aside every day, unaware that one rare version of the 1998 Jefferson nickel with a Denver mint mark could shatter their financial worries overnight. Collectors call it the ghost mint mistake, a misstrike so rare, even seasoned dealers have overlooked it. But one man didn't, and what he found stunned the numismatic world. It started in Colorado in 2017. A retired machinist named Henry had been hunting coins for decades. Nothing fancy, just coin roll hunting from banks, sometimes checking pocket change at flea markets. But when he flipped over a worn 1998 D nickel, something felt wrong. The details were misaligned, the portrait slightly doubled, and under magnification, the reverse showed a disturbing anomaly. Monticello was ghosted, doubled as if the building had been struck twice but pulled away mid-blow. He almost dismissed it, until he sent it to PCGS. Weeks later, the grading company called him directly. The verdict, a double die reverse, paired with a misaligned obverse and weak die strike. It wasn't just rare, it was possibly unique. And the final auction price? $908,000. For a Jefferson nickel most people wouldn't bend down to pick up, but that wasn't the only shocker. In the same year, another 1998 D nickel surfaced with an unusual planchet error, struck on a foreign coin blank. Lighter in weight, slightly off color, and with edges that felt off. This one sold for $72,000. Still not convinced? Here's the twist. The Denver Mint produced over 700 million Jefferson nickels in 1998. That's right. Over 700 million. So how does one coin out of hundreds of millions fetch close to $1 million? Because mistakes at that scale shouldn't happen. But when they do, they become legends. Most of these high-value 1998 D nickels feature double die reverse errors, misaligned dies, or off-center strikes between 5% to 15%, enough to be noticeable, but subtle enough to be missed by the untrained eye. Some even show what's called a floating Monticello, where the base of the building doesn't touch the ground line. At first glance, it looks like a weak strike. But under magnification, it's a diagnostic of a known error class. Collectors have been quietly snatching these coins off eBay, garage sales, and estate collections for years. One anonymous buyer paid $123,000 cash in 2021 for a certified negative $58 Australian dollars 1998 D error nickel, and then vanished from public record. Why? Because he believes the value will double within the next 5 years, and here's where it gets personal. In Ohio, a woman named Lisa was cleaning out her late father's tackle box. Among the fishing hooks, rusted keys, and dusty quarters sat a stack of nickels in a stained envelope marked "bad print." She nearly threw it away, until her nephew, a 16-year-old coin collector, begged to keep them. Inside was a 1998 D nickel with a dramatic cut error near Jefferson's profile. They sent it in. It graded mint state 64. A month later, Heritage Auctions cut them a check for $500. So now the question becomes, have you ever looked at your 1998 D nickels closely enough to check if you have one of these jackpot nickels? Here's what you need to do tonight. First, pull out any 1998 Jefferson nickels with a small D under the year. That's your starting point. Then, under a bright light or magnifying glass, check the reverse, the Monticello side, for signs of doubling. Focus especially on the steps, the windows, and the dome. If it looks like there's a faint shadow or ghosting, that could be it. Next, flip the coin and check Jefferson's profile. Look for any unusual blobs, cracks, or separation lines near the eyes, nose, or jawline. This could signal a double die or cut error. Don't forget to weigh the coin. If it's significantly lighter, say under 4.8 grams, you might be dealing with a wrong planchet strike. Once you spot anything suspicious, do not clean the coin. That kills its value. Instead, submit it to a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs a bit, but it could pay off in 6 figures, and here's the truth most people won't tell you: the next life-changing coin won't be found in a museum or behind glass at a coin shop. It'll be buried in an old coffee can, a forgotten drawer, or a $10 bankroll sitting in your kitchen right now, because rare coins don't announce themselves. They whisper. And it takes someone curious enough, hungry enough, and bold enough to listen. You don't need a degree in numismatics. You need eyes, light, patience, and the belief that sometimes, fortune really does favor the observant. The 1998 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark isn't just a coin. It's a secret. A test. A silent opportunity passed between millions of hands every day, waiting for one person to recognize its value. Will that person be you? Check your change. Search your old jars. Because one nickel, just one, could be worth $908,000, and that changes everything. One man did, and what he discovered inside an old box of coins stunned the coin collecting world. It was a Jefferson nickel, dated 2002, with a D mint mark. Seemingly ordinary. But this single coin, lost in circulation, would end up fetching over $903,000 at a secretive private auction. You might think, how is that even possible? A coin that's supposed to be worth 5 cents, suddenly commanding the power to pay off a mortgage, eliminate debt, and change a family's entire future. Well, the truth is even stranger than the price tag. You see, in 2002, the Denver Mint was operating at full throttle. Over 400 million nickels were struck that year. Nothing about it seemed rare. No headlines. No known errors, until one unexpected batch made it through the presses. A mechanical flaw in one of the aging coin dies produced a subtle, but critical, misalignment. Some coins emerged with an off-center strike. Others carried an eerie doubling on Jefferson's eye or the inscriptions. And one batch, just a few hundred, were minted using an experimental die with modified spacing in E pluribus unum. Almost nobody caught it. Even trained eyes missed it. But one collector did not. That collector, retired Navy veteran Michael Torres, was searching through old change jars in his garage when he spotted something off. The Monticello on the back of the nickel looked compressed. The steps were missing. The D mint mark appeared slightly tilted, not struck with usual clarity. He compared it with other 2002 nickels and noticed the lettering was subtly misaligned. Instead of tossing it aside, he sent it to a grading service. What came back floored him: MS-67 with rare die clash markings. It was one of only 2 known examples of its kind at the time. And when it hit the auction block, fierce bidding erupted behind closed doors. Collectors with deep pockets, museum buyers, even private brokers wanted it. Final price, $903,000. Now you might be thinking, that's a fluke. That can't happen again. But what if I told you there are dozens, maybe hundreds, of these rare 2002 D nickels still out there, sitting unnoticed in drawers, jars, even your pocket right now? And here's where it gets even more intense. That a recent batch of 2002 D nickels surfaced with a ghost doubling on the date and mint mark, barely visible without magnification. Experts believe this was caused by a worn obverse die early in its life cycle. The result? Coins with both a weak strike and subtle doubling, a deadly combo in the eyes of professional collectors. One of those recently sold for $7,850, raw. Not even graded yet, and that's not all. There's another variant, the floating Monticello version. A die deterioration error causes Monticello to appear disconnected from the baseline, making it look like it's floating. These are so obscure that most coin books haven't even caught up yet, but the underground coin forums are lighting up with chatter. Some of these are selling quietly for $2,000 to $4,500 a piece. So what should you be looking for? Start with the reverse. Look closely at the steps of Monticello. Are they missing or only partially visible? That could indicate a weak strike or die deterioration. Next, check the mint mark. The D should be sharp. If it's faint, misaligned, or doubled, that's a clue. Then, hold the coin at an angle and examine the lettering, especially E pluribus unum. On rare variants, the spacing is uneven or slightly stretched. Want a cheat code? Compare it side by side with another 2002 D nickel. Any difference, no matter how small, might be your ticket. Now imagine this: you pull out your old coin collection tonight. Just out of curiosity. You scan a few nickels. Your heart skips a beat. You see a flaw. You Google it. Forums explode with people confirming it's a rare error. You send it for grading. Weeks pass. Then one morning, an email arrives: your coin is confirmed. Estimated value, $84,000. That's not just a dream. That's a possibility. Too many people assume wealth only comes from winning the lottery or working decades. But what if the path was already sitting in your kitchen drawer? What if your next financial breakthrough isn't in your job, but in your change? People laughed when Michael Torres took a magnifying glass to a nickel. But now, those same people are watching from the sidelines as he tours the country, speaking at collector conventions, holding a coin that once bought bubble gum, now buying him freedom. Don't ignore this. Don't assume it's just a nickel. Because in the world of rare coins, just a nickel could be worth more than gold. Check your 2002 D nickels now. Look closely. Take your time. Because your life-changing discovery might not be a lottery ticket, it might just be in your pocket, waiting to be found.